Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now, first things first, I wanted to wish every one of you a happy holiday season. Hopefully Santa Claus was good to you. He's definitely been good to our portfolios, at least if you're invested in the Bitcoin mining companies. Many of them are now setting new 52-week highs, up 20, 30, 40, 50% since Christmas. So we want to talk about that in today's video. We're going to be welcoming back Anthony Power. He's brought along one of his famous charts. We're going to walk you guys through that, where we're seeing opportunity and some of the big announcements that have come out in the last couple days. But before we do, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. It really helps get this content to other people like yourself who may find value. If you're not subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to join. We just launched the Patreon group here a couple days before the new year, so I'd love to see you in there as well. We're talking about a lot of our trades, posting screenshots, account balances, things like that, specifically if you're invested in the Bitcoin mining space. And on top of that, you guys, leave a comment below. Let us know your top pick for 2024. We're giving away swag. We've got t-shirts, hats. We just got a big load of hats in from Hive. So we're going to be sending those out to subscribers and people with top comments in the section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, with all that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be welcoming back Anthony Power. I named it Bitcoin Mining Madness because that's exactly what we've seen over the last couple trading days since the holiday season. So firstly, hope everyone had a great holiday break, including yourself, Anthony. And we've got a number of things to talk about in today's video.
Yeah, all good from my side. Great to be here.
Excellent. Now, I also alluded in the intro that we've got one of your famous tables, so we're going to leave that as a teaser till last. We want to talk about some of the share price gains we've seen. The miner sector overall is going absolutely berserk, and we really haven't seen a big move in Bitcoin since a couple of weeks ago. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but before we do, we had a couple of announcements that we wanted to address in today's video as well. So first and foremost is Bit Digital. We just had the CEO on last week to talk about the company, the operations, their strategy moving forward. And then today, or the last day, we saw a big announcement in terms of their fleet upgrade and exahash growth. So Anthony, what's your thoughts on Bit Digital?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, we're getting an update on a weekly basis now from Bit Digital. So, you know, they talked about their increase in miners with their current operational hash rate. So they've been putting a lot of miners in. And when we get the update for December, we'll see their operational hash rate again increase for December based on comparison with what they had in November. Then it was a case of, you know, we've talked a lot about the HPC business and their new customer and how that's going to start imminently. They've already received advance payments and the servers arrive well, some arrived already and will be shipped by the end of this month, and some arriving literally the first week of January to Iceland. But yeah, another announcement about their operational hash rate for 2024. So they're setting a benchmark out there to get to 6 exahash by the end of the year, which is effectively doubling what the current hash rate capacity is. And, you know, aligned to that, you know, this minimum of 35 million in revenues for the HPC puts them in a really good position going into the halving. They're going to have a significantly efficient fleet. So that'd be a good thing there, because obviously energy prices and the halving, you know, we talked about the energy cost doubling overnight. Well, you know, they're bringing in a more efficient fleet now to deal with that. And so keeping their energy price down, having additional funding coming through, which gives them a longer runway going through. And Bit Digital, albeit sort of like, you know, they're not the largest miner, but they are, you know, from a fundamental perspective, they tend to do things really well. They've got no debt. They do things in a managed way. So when they talk about increasing operational capacity, they do that in a planned and managed way. They're not rushing out there on loans or just going out there and buying machines like we saw some miners do in 2021. They're doing it in a more managed way, and you know, I expect them to achieve their operational hash rate of 6 by the end of 2024, and actually maybe even increase that, dependent on how the Bitcoin price does. And we're seeing it sort of hovering around that $43,000 at the moment. But yeah, I mean, a good update. Also, one of the Twitter influencers, Mike Alfred, he even put a note out about Bit Digital, and that his company or himself had bought some shares in the company. So he's seen some value in the company, and they're starting to get a little bit of momentum in the public domain. And we'll still keep getting these updates coming out, and we'll relay them to everybody. And good day for Bit Digital.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was really impressed. The CEO, Sam Tabar, was on last week. Great conversation. We were talking before we started filming just about his background, his work history. Super experienced guy, very smart guy. And I would tend to agree that Bit Digital has kind of flown under the radar, especially that big HPC announcement. Sam expressed his similar kind of confusion, I guess, as to why that story wasn't picked up. And the next announcement, so congrats to Bit Digital. The next announcement, we're going to be going over to TeraWulf. Now, before I hand it over to Anthony, I told you guys we're doing some swag giveaways. So we actually got a bunch of hats from Hive here, you guys. We've got CleanSpark mouse pads. We've got Bitfarms shirts. And last but not least, we've got our good friend TeraWulf. Now, Anthony, we all know the Marathon Maripig fan club is absolutely crazy. I'm putting out a bet that we're going to see the TeraWulf fan club become a similar force to be reckoned with this year. I've seen a lot of the wolf emojis going out, and this stock had an absolutely fantastic day yesterday. This is one that I personally hold. We really like TeraWulf on the channel. We talk about it quite a bit, and they announced a similar operational upgrade similar to Bit Digital. So I'll kick it back to you, and we can talk about the Wulf for a little bit here.
Yeah, so TeraWulf, they announced earlier this year that they were going to bring more miners into their facilities as these new facilities were being built. And at the time they said, literally they were having 5,000 S19 XP units, and a further 13,500 units that were going to be part of a hosting plan. However, today they've announced that all those miners, that's 18,500 miners in total, will be part of their self-mining business, which is really positive because we know, from the mining industry that self-mining is that bit more profitable than hosted at the moment. With a hosting deal, you have to literally, you're sharing the rewards between the host and the hosting. So 18,500 S19 XPs. They've already, the building 3 is now fully completed and operational. And once these machines go into there, which will happen before the halving in April, and so their operational hash rate will rise from its current 5 exahash to just under 8, so 7.9 exahash. And added to that, the efficiency of their total fleet will drop to about 25.7 joules per terahash, which is pretty good. That puts them sort of in the same ballpark as the likes of Marathon Digital, CleanSpark, Iris Energy when they get their upgrades. And so all these miners, we talked about this many times on other podcasts about efficiency important. And you can see the miners now, they're coming in, they're getting these most efficient mining machines out there. And, yes, they've not gone for the S21s, but the S19s are a proven miner. And, Marathon Digital have, a significant amount of their 23 exahash of it in the form of their S19 XPs. And when you see what they deliver in December, you'll understand why these machines are useful. They haven't stopped there, though. The building 3 is completed. They're already starting now on building 4 at Lake Mariner, and if that will be completed in the first half of 2024, and once that's filled with miners, that will take their hash rate to the magic 10 exahash number. We talked about this again. Miners looking to get into that double figures as we get through the halving. You either keep up with the global hash rate, or you fall behind, and we've seen update after update from some of these miners. But yeah, I also have to agree. TeraWulf seems to be getting a good fan base. I'm seeing that on some of the Discord and the Telegram groups. as well as Twitter as well. So I can see from, when I put tweets out, how many people are following those tweets when I've got TeraWulf in there. And they're certainly, as a mining company, very, very popular. They've got the nuclear power, so that keeps the energy costs down. And even when you look at their blended energy costs, they were reporting like 3.5 cents blended at the last quarterly update, and that's probably close to close to as lower cost as you can get for a Bitcoin miner. There's only a couple of miners that can probably get anywhere near that rate. So that's good for TeraWulf. Good update, and the share price has done really well. And we'll talk about that when we put the last chart up. But yeah, really good update for TeraWulf.
Yeah, we sure will talk about that. And we've had Paul Prager on from TeraWulf in the past. I just reached out to see if we can get him back on in January just to talk about some of these developments. So if you guys have any questions for TeraWulf, leave them in the comment section below. We'll call you guys the Wolf Pack, and Anthony, maybe we'll see how many wolf emojis we get below in this one. Now the main event, we've seen absolutely phenomenal growth in share price in the mining sector as a whole. Like I say, we're not really seeing a big move in Bitcoin, which is super encouraging that people are really starting to appreciate and value this sector. Marathon was just named the biggest mover of the year, up over 800%, most actively traded company yesterday. I saw a number of the Bitcoin miners in the top 10. So it's great to see our thesis. A lot of us have been in this space for years and years. We've been saying this day is going to come, and it really does feel like it is. Now, we've got the ETF news expected early January here. There's a lot of debate as to what's happening there. But maybe let's move into this next chart, Anthony, and let's talk about where we're seeing the big moves and where we see opportunity for 2024.
Yeah, so the next chart just looks at literally effectively the last month to see where the major changes have occurred. And, looking at all that list of miners, certainly you've seen some massive movements in the last 30 days. And Core Scientific, we talked about Core Scientific all year because, that their stock price 12 months ago was about 4 cents after they announced they were going into Chapter 11. And, those people out there who were sort of like keen to purchase that stock, with the company going into a sort of bankruptcy, and I've seen some people's trades. They did buy in at a very low price for Core Scientific. That stock's increased by 4,000% in the last 52 weeks. So that's 40 times your investment. So that's a significant rise. But it did drop by 98%, 99% during the year of 2022. So if people didn't invest in Core Scientific this year and had some stock from 2022, they're probably sitting on some losses at the moment. But if they were able to sort of, average down their share price by purchasing more shares at a lower price and getting that overall average down, I think a number of shareholders could have been in for a good rise this year, especially in that stock there. You've already mentioned Marathon Digital. Again, they've achieved 800% in the last 12 months. The last month alone, it's 150% up, and that accounts for a drop today. I mean, yes, it would have been even higher, probably close to 170% if we hadn't had the drop this morning. So a good rise for them. But if you look down the list, lots of miners. Bitdeer have had a fantastic run. That stock, a couple of months ago, when they reached the point where the initial investors could start selling some of their shares, and many of them did, the stock price dropped to $2.77, and it's now sort of like recovered close to the IPO price of $14.75. So it's done very, very well. And we talk about Bitdeer. Self-mining is only a part of their business. They have another 3 businesses that are very, very profitable. And the self-mining element is approximately 40% of their business. So when we see that market capitalization for Bitdeer of 1.4 billion, and then you compare it to other miners, say like, Hut and Riot, Bitdeer have got significantly more other revenues coming in So, you have to look at or take that into account when you look at some of these valuations.
Just to jump in there, I've actually seen a couple comments or questions saying, hey, a lot of the miners are up 10, 15, 20%. Why is Bitdeer lagging? I think it's important to call that out, that self-mining is under 50%, 40% of this company. So when you do see those big moves some days in the market, a lot of the pure play miners are the ones that are really up in the double digits. Not necessarily anything negative about Bitdeer. It's just not as exposed to the Bitcoin mining maybe as some of the other players that we cover here.
No, so going back to the chart, Bryce, there you can see the average volume on Bitdeer is only 880,000 shares as a daily basis. And when you look at some of the big North American miners, Riot, Marathon, CleanSpark, even the likes of Bitfarms and TeraWulf, where they're into sort of 8 digits, 10, 20, 40 million shares a day. Bitdeer is not getting that exposure at the moment, but I think if you look at the share price in the last 5 days, up 60%, up 200% in the last month, and certainly, risen nearly 400% from its low, and its low was only a couple of months ago. So, up nearly 400% just in the last 2 months. That seems some rise there. So I know there was a bit of skepticism, but again, they get their updates out, and we'll start, putting more information out about Bitdeer. Certainly on my radar to do an article and explain a bit more about their businesses. So you might see that come up in the first quarter of 2024. And that'll give people a bit more understanding of what they do. But they're not just a self-miner. They do have 3 other businesses and 3 other significant businesses. Yeah, a great time, to be in the miners at the moment. With the Bitcoin price as it is at the moment, at sort of 42, 43,000, and the speculation that it goes higher, where will the miners go? I don't know, and I never give any predictions on miners. All I say is that, for people that have bought miners this year, I would say literally all of them will be in a profitable position if they bought this year on those miners, because we've seen some extremely good rises, especially in the last few months, and in some of them in the last couple of weeks we've seen some rises. Even the likes of Argo blockchain up 240% in the last month, nearly 100% in the last 5 days, 87% up in the last 5 days, and that includes today. So good all round there. So people can have a look at that chart and help them understand some of the price action, and start, helps with their due diligence when they look a bit further into some of these companies. But yeah.
For sure. Yeah, most people I think watching this probably do have some exposure and are doing pretty well in terms of their portfolio returns this year. We talked about Marathon up over 800%, talked about their December production results, I think is really going to wake the market up to the potential of Marathon. And as a result of a lot of these big significant developments, a lot of people have been asking, Anthony, what's our exit strategy? Where do I know to take profits? We talked yesterday about the fundamentals versus the technical analysis and the PE earnings of these companies. So that's definitely half the battle here, you guys. If you're in these stocks, you've made some money this year, that's fantastic, but that's only half the battle. Now you need to actually lock in those profits. So that's going to be a topic of a subsequent video, but I just wanted to kind of get that on your radar. If you guys have questions about how to get out of positions or when to lock in profits, stop losses, things like that, we can definitely discuss in a future video. I don't know if you have any comments there, Anthony, right now that you want to share?
Absolutely. We saw in 2021, the very first 2 or 3 months of 2021, we saw some massive rises in some of these stocks, exponential rises, bigger rises than we're seeing now. And, that created a FOMO in the space. People were buying shares every day. People were buying at the highs. I've seen people were buying Argo blockchain when it reached sort of like £3, which was a significant amount, and it literally reached that figure for literally a day or 2 days in February, and then it sort of like started its decline, and we saw that stock price drop to as low as like 4 pence. So from a high of £3 2 years ago down to about 4 pence in December of 2022. We're seeing some green shoots now, but we're probably seeing green shoots because the whole market's up at the moment. So some of these smaller miners have had a really good period this last month or so as well. We've seen, some real changes, in their share prices. The big miners have always done quite well when the Bitcoin price goes up, but we're starting to see some of the the ones that may be a bit more of a value play. So you look at the stronghold mining, you look at the DMGs, you look at the Solunas, you look at SATO technology, and they've had a good rise. Some of these had very low market capitalizations. Now they've got bigger market capitalizations, and it puts them in opportunity where they've got more options to look at, maybe to raise funds to get to the next step. So, but yeah, and we talked about TeraWulf earlier in the conversation, and TeraWulf has had a good rise again in the last couple of months. It had a great rise up until July, where its share price got to $4. And it's slowly getting towards that $4 target again, which again gives the company more options to look at how they can sort of maybe use some of the shares there to reduce the debt figures and at a better price. So we've seen that stock at $1 or less than $1 this year. It's currently over $3. So it gives plenty of opportunities for the management team there to think about the next steps for them. But we've talked about their good updates last couple of weeks, and they seem to be going from strength to strength and on everyone's radar at the moment. So, yeah, good news all around.
It sure is. And we'll give a call out. As you were saying, buying at the highs, I still have some shares of HUD 8 in my account that I purchased above $20 before the merger. So that would have been like $100 merger adjusted. So I always see that, but I got to give some love to HUD 8. We love Sue and the rest of the team there, Jamie, and their shares price has been doing really good the last couple of days too. So yeah, we'll be sure to get on here, talk about some exit strategies, at least give you guys some options. We talk about a lot of that trade detail in the Patreon group as well, you guys, so make sure you check it out. Anthony, thanks so much for your time here. We'll get you back on in a couple days, see what 2024 brings us, but we really appreciate your time and happy holidays.
Excellent. Same to you, Bryce.
Take care, all.